Whenever.
All right. So we all know that the U.S. was the first country to establish a modern democratic republic where representatives are elected by people who are supposed to reflect the opinions of that electorate in an accurate and proportionate way. Well, I propose that the U.S. politicians use exploitative methods in order to get elected and create an inaccurate and disproportionate representation of the people. There are two main methods that the U.S. politicians use, and the first one is a term called gerrymander, which I'll explain later, and then also the use of almost limitless funds through corporations and especially deep-pocketed individuals using super PACs, which I'll also explain later. So the way the U.S. representatives are chosen is that each state gets a certain amount of representatives based on their population. But then it's up to each individual state how they divide that up. So what gerrymandering does is it exploits the lines in which they're drawn to include or exclude certain demographics. So they can create an advantage for themselves. Let's see. Yeah, it'll benefit a certain party in certain areas and actually create a disproportionate representation in that area. So in a nutshell, it's okay. This method of exploiting the district boundaries is also used to waste certain demographics votes in that area, and then it actually drastically changes the makeup of the House of Representatives. A study conducted by Sam Wang, an associate professor at Princeton University, showed that during the last 2012 elections in the states of Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida, the Republican vote was about 7% higher than the Democrats, yet the Republicans took more than 67% of House seats. So, but gerrymandering is not only used by Republicans, because in Illinois, Texas, and Arizona, they show a strong bias towards the Democrats. So the use of gerrymandering also results in extremely awkward and pretty hideously shaped districts. The evidence you can see just by looking at Maryland's 3rd district, Illinois' 4th district, North Carolina's 4th district, as well as countless others dotted throughout the entire country. Some of the nicknames are the pinwheel or the hanging claw. They're just like excluding certain populations in their districts. Gerrymandering is just one way that politicians can exploit the U.S. political system. The other way employed is the use of super PACs or political action committees. According to the law, the maximum donation an individual can make towards a political campaign is $5,000. However, through the use of these super PACs or political action committees, this is bypassed. Essentially, anybody, including corporations, which are considered people, can make an unlimited contribution towards the super PAC, effectively creating a limitless amount of money for political campaigns. And they can also do so anonymously by the super PACs creating nonprofit or 501c organizations, which are not required to release the name of their donors. So they pretty much don't know who's spending money towards what. And technically, the candidates aren't allowed to communicate or coordinate with the PAC organizers. However, the heads are normally very close, the political action committee heads. And they spend their funds towards creating ads supporting that candidate or defaming his opposing candidates. So it's pretty shady, actually. Although advocates claim that this is perfectly legal, and it is, but they're just exploiting a certain loophole in the system. And in the last elections, the Political Action Committee, or super PACs, had a major influence on the campaigns with more than $150 million from organizations like Restore Our Future, over $100 million from American Crossroads, and more than $80 million from Priorities USA Action. So in a perfect democratic republic, all candidates and all politicians would have an equal chance to get elected based on the amount of votes that they receive. However, this is instead based on how much money you can raise, or exploiting little technicalities in the way that the districts are drawn. And then it creates a real misrepresentation of the people that can be manipulated to give one party an advantage over another, which in the end undermines the entire premise of a democratic republic. That's it.
All right, Nick, the background information at the beginning is fine. I think the phrasing of the proposition is problematic because it has 3 claims built into it, and that doesn't work at all. There is a pretty good layout of what the secondary points are going to be. You're going to be talking about gerrymandering and money, and that's fine. I'm not exactly sure what's in dispute on this issue because it basically comes down to an argument that says gerrymandering and money are being used, and nobody denies that. It's right at the very end of the speech that I think you actually present something that is argumentative. That's when you make the claim that says that the will of the people is being misrepresented because of this. That's the argument that ought to be your claim, and that, I think, needs a little bit more focus in your presentation. You did a good job signposting the secondary claims when you got to them, so it was relatively easy to follow. Like I said, there's a lot of background information, but I'm not exactly sure that you proved that there's a harmful consequence to this one way or the other. The examples that you used on gerrymandering were a little bit vague. There's no source citation on them. I don't doubt that they're true, but you want to make sure that you cite them. You had some good statistical evidence based on the one study, but it only gave us a percentage on one state. I think it was Michigan, or maybe Ohio was included in that 7% that got referred to. On the Democratic one that you mentioned, the other states, we didn't get any indication about what the percentage of the Democrats' vote was compared to the number of positions that they got. So that was the first thing that I was thinking about there. There's some good factual data on the 501c. And again, you've just described something that exists. What you need to do is you need to show the harm that exists. You make a vague reference that says that they do this coordination despite the fact that it's against the law. That's a claim of fact. That needs some evidence on it. So I think your generalizations need to be a little bit more focused on where the controversy is. I thought you did a pretty good job presenting. Maybe you got a little bit stuck at one point, but you recovered pretty nicely. You need to be a little bit more consistent in citing the information too. All right, thank you very much.